just when you thought it was safe to go out in your yard and do some work, it's not. It's Capitol Report After Hours. This is a new thing. I'm Tom Dudchik. Welcome to Capitol Report After Hours, where the panel and I have some extended time to talk about extended conversations and the big stories of the week here in Connecticut. And quite frankly, well, anything else we want to talk about. You know, Brandon McGee, George Lewis, Liz Kranz, John McKinney, all here. We're all charged up and ready to chat. Guys, we feeling good? Everyone loose?
Well, can we add a little something to the Capitol Report brand for After Hours?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Okay, well, you wanted to take your tie off.
I know, but I
maybe
need to hear.
Maybe a little character of each of us, you know.
Something like that. Maybe your water's all gone. That's not good for After Hours. Hey, so let's get to the gubernatorial race. Republican Ryan Fazio picking up some endorsements from his GOP pals in the State House. What does that mean for Fazio? What's it mean for the potential primary Aaron Stewart, who's kind of left out of these big endorsements, guys? Liz, you can start us off here.
I mean, look, I don't think anybody gets into an exploratory committee not expecting to run, right? And so when you're in that phase of a campaign, there are a lot of things that you can and should be doing, not the least of which is making outreaches and calling and meeting with important delegates, superdelegates, and when you have the field to yourself, there's no reason that you haven't made those calls and you haven't built those relationships. So, you know, to me, that is sort of the underlying issue here.
So Liz, and not to put you on the spot, but what is the win?
No, it's After Hours. You can put her on the spot.
Liz, you're on the spot. What's the win number that they have to get to? Because Aaron did have a head start, but Fazio came out of the gates a lot quicker and got a lot
Isn't
of
this like her
endorsement.
third time, though, right?
Yeah.
Or second?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Yeah.
I think, so to answer your question, it's a moving target, right?
Yeah.
So for delegate counts, you get one delegate for every 750 votes of the Republican nominee in the last gubernatorial election. Plus, you get one for plurality, and you get one for mayors, and then all of your legislators and state central members. So it rounds out, I think it's about 1,100, 1,200 delegates, thereabouts. And so you need 15% to qualify for the primary. And to win, it's 50% plus one. But you'll see, and they may not be the only candidates, right? I mean, Jen Tooker's running. You've got potentially Aaron. You've got Ryan Fazio. There may be another candidate that gets in the race or two, depending, right? If Ned doesn't run, that dynamic changes a lot.
Can we talk about, though, like Donald Trump literally blew up the status quo in terms of entering into races and primaries and like this old way of thinking. I use old loosely, but this sort of aged way, same difference, of thinking, right, around politics and how we get in the race.
That's a good segue. So let's listen to Steve Harding and Vin Candelora talk about a possible Trump endorsement for Fazio and what sets him apart as a candidate who can win in blue Connecticut. You didn't even know you're setting me up.
I got to finish my thought.
Okay, you finish your thought.
All right.
I think that Ryan has a unique track record out of any Republican candidate anywhere in being able to buck the trend in Fairfield County, particularly lower Fairfield County, where we've seen former Republicans now seemingly vote more and more Democrat. He's been able to attract those voters to support him despite the fact they may have not supported the party at the national level. That's something that if we're going to win here in Connecticut, we obviously need. Ryan has a track record of doing that, and that's yet another reason why I'm proud to endorse him.
I think maybe for the primary it might be significant. Obviously, I think with Trump being underwater in Connecticut, he did not win this state in any of his elections. It probably wouldn't help him. So I think any Republican candidate needs to define their issues, not try to ride on someone else's coattails. So I would anticipate that there would be there wouldn't be an attempt to get his endorsement, but I could be wrong.
Finish your thought.
I don't even know where my thought went, but I will say I really do love Vinny, and I think he's a great dude. But I don't think Donald Trump is underwater in Connecticut by any stretch. I think there are people supporting this man, and I think there are more who will come out. I don't encourage it.
You mean in the Republican Party?
In the Republican Party, right?
It's still very popular in the
right?
Republican Party in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I think, you raised an interesting point. Like, Trump sort of changed how you enter into politics. But for us Connecticut Republicans, we've been dealing with that for the last 4 cycles.
Yes.
We've had Tom Foley, Bob Stefanowski, money. The last time we really had this kind of a race was 1986, where we had 2 state senators and a first select and a state representative running for the governor's office.
That was Balaga, right?
That was Julie Balaga, Jerry Labriola, Dr. Labriola, and Dick Bizzuto.
This was 4 back then.
Imagine 2 Republican state senators in the same caucus, both running against each other. This is much more of a traditional Republican primary type race because Nobody knows any of the candidates.
There's so
They're
many-
complete unknowns.
And there are so many things at play, John. You know how hard it is to raise those qualifying contributions. And I think, what it seems is that Erin focused mostly on raising her money into her exploratory committee and sort of put the political outreach on the back burner. Ryan has done the opposite, building on the political front. I'm not sure, 6-8 months is not a lot of time to raise all that
Which
money.
is why his September 30th filing
Is a
is
big
going to be
one.
important. But there's also tricks, as you know, from going from exploratory to a candidate committee. Not all of the money she's raised in the exploratory committee is going to
And when are we going to
Trick
hear?
is a very interesting.
And when are we going to hear
phrase.
from Ned Lamont? We're just like waiting for Travis Kelce to propose to Taylor Swift.
Well, he did. He proposed.
Is it going to be like a big
I know.
burden?
You know, it's
if
gonna be
someone
in
else-
some-
I think he's smart to wait. I think he probably thought if we're going to do a special session in September,
Let's
let's
get that
over with. I think now that you hear the speaker saying third-ish week of October, that makes it more difficult.
Yeah,
for the
I think
governor.
it'll probably be at this point after the municipal elections. There's no indications coming out of that office that he's not going to run, so I'm operating under the assumption that he is. It's just a matter of the announcement.
It's not like Josh Elliott's
He
burning
holds,
up.
He
the
holds
road
all
there.
the cards, right? I mean, Governor Rell, as you remember, did not announce that she would not seek
The
re-election
first Rel mention in After Hours,
until,
huh?
God bless her, until it was Veterans Day,
Yep.
I believe. So it's really more about Ned's timeline, and everyone is going to have to figure that out on their own. I think obviously all the tea leaves we're seeing are that he's going to run for re-election.
He's gonna run.
And so it's sort of a moot point at that juncture.
He doesn't
because
have to
he'll-
raise money. We know that.
No, I mean the Republican primary is who's going to lose to Ned Lamont, most likely, right? That's it. But
No, I
Cheers
agree.
with no
but
water.
it's also about 2030 too for the Republicans.
It's
But that, John, I'm so glad that you brought that up. That is such a false narrative. In 2030, you're going to have a completely open race for governor on both sides.
Correct.
Anyone in this race who thinks they're getting into it right now to build themselves up for 2030 is nuts.
Say it again, Liz.
I'm serious.
I understand what you're saying, but that's Aaron Stewart and Ryan Fazio.
I'm just telling you,
Right? No,
there
you're
is
right.
anyone who thinks that there's a stickiness to the name ID that they're going to build with all the millions of dollars they're going to spend on the state's dime, you are delusional.
So you know whose name hasn't been mentioned for Congress or governor that just 2030 can. Just saying, B.
B. McGee.
Let's have a drink.
All right, on that note, guys, topic B. We got a better idea about the intersection of politics and business this week when Connecticut Business and Industry Association, or CBIA, to McKinney, released a new survey that finds there's a lot of uncertainty about doing biz in the state based on not only what happens here in Connecticut, but as Washington, D.C. as well. Tariffs, taxes, regulations. With a lot in limbo, there's a lot of hand-wringing as well. Take a listen to what CBIA Chief Christy Pentina had to say about all of that. Watch this.
There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of challenges. Certainly on the federal level, you've got the tax bill that came out, you've got tariffs happening, and so businesses are just trying to understand, how do I navigate these challenges and this uncertainty? At the state level, based on the response of our business survey, which we released today, an annual survey we do that goes out to more than 3,000 businesses, businesses are a bit concerned about the direction of the state. There's been some increases in spending, government spending, there's been some increases in taxes, and so they're a little cautious about where is the state going. Are we going to go back to fiscal discipline and growing the economy? The businesses continue to struggle with workforce. Retention and recruitment of employees is 76% of businesses are struggling with that, and that's their top issue, preventing them from growing even more. And so finding people, filling the 77,000 job openings that we have in the state of Connecticut, this is the trend that we've had for several years now coming out of the pandemic. We've got the job openings, the businesses have the demand, but we don't have the people to fill those job openings. And a lot of that goes back to lack of population growth because the state's not affordable. So we're not keeping people here, we're not attracting people to Connecticut.
Well, Chris doing a good job at CBI
Very
these
good.
days, I think. So Lamont is basically viewed favorably by the business community in the state. How does he keep that up, or what does he have to do to basically draw that fine line between his progressive vision and the business community, which we know he has an affinity for?
He needs to do something to lower utility costs, and he needs to honor promises made on business
Maybe put a
taxes and
fifth person on
cost of living.
pure, Liz, right?
Maybe how about a fourth,
gotta get the
maybe a
fourth.
third, because we
And
right now have somebody running, working on an expired term.
And the guardrails would be the third leg of that
Yes, the
stool. Yep.
guardrails, yes.
Yeah, but I think it's really great the way Chris presented that. He's done such a great job. When he came in, one of the first conversations I had with him, Brendan, you remember, it was when everybody was bad-mouthing Connecticut, in my opinion. Like, we need to be more cheerleaders. Yeah, there's things we need to fix, but you know, I'm always the optimist. If we work together, we can figure it out. And Chris has done that. Yeah. I think the business leaders around this entire country are in such a difficult spot, because here in Connecticut, Ned Lamont has proven he will walk that line, even against friends, if he doesn't believe it's best for the state, and apply that to any policy agenda. He did it with the striking workers. He did it with housing. Right? He's not afraid to take a stand if he doesn't believe it's the right way to go. But the amount of angst in the business community, and they're all pretty much silent against what's going on at the federal level. These tariffs are really having an impact. I went to the dry cleaners yesterday and picked up my clothes, and the young woman who I've been friends with for years said to me, you know, our hangers, our box of hangers went from under $200 to over $600. We don't know how we're going to make this work. Some of the cleaning supplies they're on back order 2 and 3 weeks. Yeah. These business leaders are in such a difficult spot because President Trump has shown with businesses that he will put pressure on you. He will do anything he can do to make you uneasy if you speak out. That doesn't entitle all of us to a good dialogue about the problem. So good for Chris, fact-based, no drama. We got work to do. We can't go back to how our finances were handled in Connecticut before.
Yeah, but it's not, look, tariffs, like budgets, have winners and losers, right? That's not what is causing the angst amongst business. What's causing the angst amongst business, which has caused them angst in Connecticut pre-Ned Lamont, with Democrats controlling everything, is unpredictability. They want to know what's going to happen 5, 10, 20 years down the road. Even if it's bad for them, they'll adjust. The Trump administration is acting differently than a lot have, so there's unpredictability. And in Connecticut, a post-Ned Lamont or not a Republican governor, there's a lot of unpredictability about the guardrails, about taxes, about a lot of things. Joe, I've been there, you know, as the Republican leader when Dan Malloy came to speak to CBIA at Business Day. He was not very well received, and there was a lot of animosity in the legislature towards businesses. Let's be honest about that.
But Brandon, housing, which is in your wheelhouse, we cannot grow businesses in Connecticut without more housing.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's an issue that you should be close to.
Yeah, extremely
well,
close
you are,
to. And, you know, I'm thinking about, and this is a special shout out for the work that I'm doing through the council, and thanks to Ned Lamont and the entire legislature, really trying to reimagine what it would look like to invest dollars in communities where they lack infrastructure around business. And how can we, and Chris is one of our co-chairs for our working groups, and bringing CBIA to reimagine their partnerships beyond just philanthropic dollars. Right. Let me just give you $500 for your bake sale, but let's dive deeper. And so when Chris says, hey man, you know, we have all of these jobs available, but no people, there are people.
But it goes
but
beyond, it goes beyond housing because we don't have workforce training and development either. And
no, we do, but it's not aligned.
It's not enough.
Yes.
Correct.
And so you have, you know, we have these incredible manufacturers who are doing incredible work, and they have so many jobs open, and we don't have people who are ready to go fill those jobs. So not only do we not have housing, but we're not doing enough to prepare the next generation.
And we don't have the transportation to take people from that housing to the
just to
jobs.
get back to Tom's question around housing, we can build. Thanks to your father, who he understood the importance of wraparound services and helping individuals. We can put them in the house, but can they stay? We're going to continue to build, and we need it. And we need all types of housing, right? And so when you talk about housing, you need a job. A job, you need housing, and everything works together.
CBI endorse you? Ever?
What? Yes, they have.
They did?
Actually.
All right. Did they endorse you?
From North Hartford.
Right.
Yes.
Mayor of Hartford?
No.
No.
What should have been?
I'm still getting over
What
that, all
should
right?
have been?
Do I have to be honest
Yes.
and say the year
Yes.
they
This
endorsed
is after
me, I didn't
hours.
have an opponent? Because that's when they endorsed me.
That's how the teachers.
amazing how
They
that
endorsed
The
happened.
you,
teachers
McKinney.
union
They
would endorse
endorsed
me. I
you.
didn't have an opponent. Yeah. They did.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break and talk special session. When we get back, do not go away. A lot of fun here, huh? Well, if you had October on your bingo card for lawmakers to return for a special session at the state capitol, you win. The big issue is still hanging out there. Working on a bill that governor vetoed concerning affordable housing, guys. We're just talking about the housing. But I noticed in the Connecticut Mirror last week, we taped this on Friday, that Josh Elliott is going to have a press conference with a lot of his progressive peeps, and he's going to kind of try to lay out what he believes should be the agenda for the special session. I'm not sure that will be the agenda, but it's a bold move, I thought.
Well, interesting, because he's actually a legislator, so he actually has a platform to go put a bill in and do this.
But he says in the reporting he doesn't want to be the front of this. So he's going to bring people.
What a leader
and
and a
he's going to
governor.
stay in the background. He's not going to so he's going to just let other people speak for these progressive issues.
Sarcasm is a friend. It's probably my only one at this point.
Special session is always very difficult because the way it works is the governor can do the call to get the legislature in, but the legislature can come in and just bang the
As
gavel and leave.
Ms. Matt Ritter said in the article, the call means nothing.
The call
means
nothing.
absolutely
The call
nothing.
is coming from inside the house.
Right.
But to get issues that are going to get the three required actions, passage in the House, passage in the Senate, and ultimately a governor's signature, is more nuanced. I am disheartened when I hear, and other failed bills that may come up, because that's not our process. Our process here in the state of Connecticut is you introduce the bill. If you don't pass it in both chambers by the end, it's dead.
It's dead.
Move on.
The difficulty is there's no deadline to do something, right? So when are they going to call the special session? Someone asked me the other day. My answer was when they've agreed on something that can pass.
Yes.
But if you don't have a deadline to pass it by, you don't necessarily get the sides to give in order to reach that agreement. This is not going to be an easy thing for them to pull off.
Well, and they got to uplive to the other October special sessions. We all remember October 31st is when we passed the bipartisan budget.
Right.
And then, John, when we served together, we came in to do the Sikorsky deal in October. Big
Correct.
jobs built. Big, important stuff gets done in the offseason.
Stepping away from the inside ball game, those folks who are sitting at the kitchen table I support affordable housing. Why aren't we moving the needle forward? Kudos to you, Josh, and your friends, right? You should be able to coalesce and get everybody together to put some pressure on the administration on the issues you believe in. I'm okay with that. But to your point, you have to come to some sort of an agreement on a policy
let me ask
that
you a
will
question.
move forward.
Do you think, and I don't know this, but I just believe it, that the fair share numbers are the sticking point? Yeah. Are the Regional Plan Association and those lobbyists who've lobbied the progressives, are they going to give up those numbers in the bill? If they do, the bill passes.
It would.
That's not happening.
Because those numbers, in truth, those numbers are absolutely outrageously out of line, ridiculous, unachievable.
I'm going to go back to the conversation that we've had on this bill and this issue from the very beginning, which is that the proponents of the bill moved a lot of members by making promises, which meant they had to add things to the bill, which turned the bill it collapsed under its own weight. There were amendments that were presented that would have cleaned up the bill, that would have made it something everybody could get to yes on, at least more than, and include the governor. And they didn't do that.
Yeah,
and so the bill collapsed under its own weight, and nothing has changed, from my understanding, today than when the governor vetoed the bill. We're still stuck on the same issues, and I don't think, if there's a special session, I personally don't think that housing is going to be a part of it. I think it's going to be this continued push of Connecticut Democrats to nationalize our state legislature and to try and create a narrative and a platform for themselves to talk about what's happening at the federal level and make themselves relevant. We have a part-time legislature that is apparently working very hard to become a full-time legislature.
This is after hours, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay with using the national platform to raise the profile of an issue. Having served as a chair of a committee, and many of you here also, housing in particular, I struggle with the entire conversation, because how else do we move the needle forward and at least hold some of these municipalities, small towns accountable, but maybe not punching them down, but figuring out how can we work together to move this forward? It's not been easy, and it's not a new issue.
No.
But how do we get there?
And you're asking to do that in the middle of a municipal election.
It's a 40, 50-year-old issue.
What is it? What are we doing? The census midterm? things are happening. Why
Counting.
Midterm, let's do
All
it.
right, after hours. Hey, we're going to take a quick break and kind of school Brendan on basketball when we get back.
Oh,
This
my
is,
God.
Good luck
So
with
what
that
happens
one.
is
Hey,
the ball.
You know what there hasn't been much chatter about in the past couple of weeks? The Connecticut Sun and the team's precarious and uncertain future playing basketball in our state. The latest we're hearing is more wheeling and dealing for Connecticut to take a minority stake in the team, guys. So what do you think? So here's the thing. Do we want state government to own a basketball team?
No.
Or a part of it. And McKinney, to your point, is that any different than a state government giving, say, Robert Kraft back in the day when he's going to Connecticut hundreds of millions of dollars for a stadium? Is that any different?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we're not owning the team. We're investing in an idea, which, by the way, if you look at where the National Football League is now compared to then, that actually deal was pretty good.
You could have paid for that money.
Yeah, right. So I think the issue here is, and clearly the league wants the team in a bigger market, right? We've talked about that. Connecticut's a tiny market. And I think there's got to be a way, and I know the governor's probably exploring everything, where they can pay the tribe the money, but still kind of have the tribe own the team. Because if the tribe still owns the team, the league can't say, you got to go. And I just don't know how they're going to do that, but I think that's got to be
Well, I
part of
spoke to one of my friends, Mark Gannis. He runs a company called Sports Corp, and when Riker administration was dealing with the whole Robert Kraft stuff, we brought him in. He brought in Sweetness. What was his name?
Walter Payton.
Walter Payton, who walked into the governor's office, and for a second I was going to try to tackle him. So I couldn't say that I brought down. He wouldn't have been expecting it. So
I still don't think you would have been able to do
So
it.
I could have brought down. I tackled
Tom
Walter
just hits
Payton.
him and it ends up on the ground.
I mean, calves like this. I just look at have got him on the ground.
Tom, even if
I
you
was
did
in my
the
30s.
perfect tackle by getting your shoulder in
Yes.
there, keeping your head up, you would have bounced right off.
I was in my 30s. But what Mark did say, and he's still very much in the game of relocating teams, he goes, I said, has any state entity ever tried to take a piece of a sports franchise? He says, absolutely no. It'd be precedent setting.
Yeah, the only one that's out there really is owned by the fan base on the football.
Well,
team.
yeah,
Green Bay
Packers.
yeah.
Packers.
So it's owned by the fan.
Right. It's quite fan base stuff in the Premier League is quite popular, but it would not happen here. And I'm not sure we want to go down that road. So in the final analysis, I probably think it probably won't happen.
Oh, I think the way that could happen is if the same group that put together a bid accepts a minority owner status, and we keep it at the Sun. Then the WNBA is not involved at all. It is the franchise is the franchise. We've kept it in Connecticut. Maybe it's not the ideal arena. We got to figure out the practice arena stuff, but it does keep it. So I think we do hold the cards. Are the folks that are willing to invest in the Connecticut Sun willing to take a minority ownership?
And by the way, though, John, to your point, I'm not sure that there's universal agreement on the fact that that being in a bigger market is necessarily better, because what you end up seeing is competition for viewership, and they have to have higher prices.
Right.
And so, you look at UConn women, for example. Connecticut is a perfect market for the WNBA. The Lady Huskies are selling out. 13,000 people watching them when they are playing in Hartford, right?
And just say that going back 10 years,
Correct.
so it wasn't the
It's
Caitlin
not
Carter.
new.
We
No,
had it
this
on our
is
own.
correct.
And the Connecticut Sun came from a bigger market.
Right,
It came from Orlando.
And
right.
the Connecticut
Hey, guys,
Sun.
I'm still here.
Listen,
We don't talk to you about sports.
Just listening.
They have a loyal fan base. I think that there are mixed. You do get mixed reviews on whether or not it's
No.
good to go
Hugo,
to
who's your
another
favorite player in the
What would
Connecticut
you
Sun?
like?
Don't even
Who's your
do
favorite
it.
We're gonna have
player?
a-
Come
we're
on.
gonna-
Hey Siri, call Paul
Yeah,
Mouse.
we're gonna
Who's your
brand
favorite
this.
player in the WNBA?
Dude.
We're going to brand this segment next week.
No
Teach
idea.
Brandon about sports, and
Paige-
every week we're going to
Paige
go
Beckers
through
is an easy one.
football. and,
Easy fun.
Sure. Dallas
who was
Cowboys.
Walter Payton? Who
Oh,
did he
my
play
God.
for?
No, you
Yeah.
did not just say that.
Tom, I got to say that this is really awesome. And just for the folks that are watching this for the first time, this is what we do every
Yes,
week we're
in
together. We
between.
do it before, we do it after.
In between the breaks,
between
we're
the
talking.
breaks.
Yep.
Tom is like, guys.
Guys, that red light's on. You gotta shut up.
What you see is what you get, guys. All right, for Joe, Brandon, Lizzie, Jay McKinney. I'm going to do one of those. Who's the pitcher? They hit him in the gut, right? Oh.
Listen, just keep it away from my face.
I wanna-
that's
I
all.
wanna
I don't
see
need
this.
a.
That was good. That was good.
Imagine you make it on the after.